Hi there, my name's Amanda Skelton and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how to make this lovely card. I call it sort of a bowed fronted card, and as you can see it's a really nice 3D card. I've got two different designs here, one for a sort of like female and a male. So this card is using the Hydrangea Sweets bundle, and this one is using the Sailing is it Sailing Home sweet as well. So you can use probably any sweet you like on this. The main thing is to get the shape of the card. So as you can see, it's a really nice 3D card, but you can then take it apart very gently and it folds flat for postage, which is obviously very handy, and then they can assemble it themselves when they receive it. So that's what we're going to make today. So let me just put that one back together again, just so we've got a full one to see. And I'm going to make a variant of this one today with the Hydrangea bundle. So let me just get these out of the way. So what you'll need for this card, if I get the pieces of paper that you'll need and the measurements. So for the back base section, you will need a piece of cardstock. So I've used the In Colours 2021 to 2023 range. So these are the colours within this suite. So you've got the really nice soft succulent, polished pink, pale papaya even. There's a darker one here, evening evergreen. Have I said them all? Fresh freezer, which is this purple colour. These are the 6x6 in colour sort of DSP pack, which you've got the different patterns on, which are really nice. So that's what I'm using as the base for this card. So you'll need a piece of cardstock. So I've got polished pink here, and that needs to measure 5 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And then you want two other pieces of cardstock in the same colour. So this piece measures 5 3/4 inch by 2 1/2 inches, and this one measures 5 3/4 inch by 2 1/2 inches. Now these two pieces, so the larger piece, the 5 3/4 by 2 1/2 inches, you want to score in 1/2 inch from one side and 3/8 inch from the other side. So I don't know if you can just see there that I've got the score lines running down each side here. And the same for the smaller piece. Again, you want to measure in 1/2 inch from one side and 3/8 inch from the other side. And then we want some designer series paper. So again, I'm going to use two sides, or the two different sides of one piece of DSP, just so you get the contrast in design. So I've got one piece here which is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and that's going to be the back piece here. And then the larger piece here is 4 3/4 inch by 2 3/8 inch, and that's going to go on that section there. And then we've got the third piece, which is 4 3/4 inch by 1 3/8 inch, and that one's going to go on there. Okay. Then I've got a small piece of just white printer paper actually. And what have we got there? I think it's about 3 inches by 4 inches. And that can be put on the back, and that's where you can write your sentiments. So that's just a piece of paper there. Then I've also got a piece of scrap card, if you like, and that's to be able to print or stamp the detail for the sentiment, your detail here. And what I've also got is a piece of coloured card, which we're going to use for these flowers here. So these are just the card colour. These aren't stamped. There is, in the Hydrangea bundle, you'll see that we've got, so let's have a look here. So Hydrangea Haven stamp set. So this is what we're going to use here. And then we're going to use the matching die for the flower, and then we've also got this die here, which is going to be used for the flowers. So let me take that one out now as well. Okay, what I'm also going to use is the Happy Birthday stamp from the Peaceful Moments stamp set. I just use a lot of happy birthday cards, so that's what I generally end up making. Right, so let's begin. Let's move those out of the way for a minute. So the first thing we're going to do is the back section. So if you can see, these are rounded. Now I'm going to use the envelope score board, but unfortunately it isn't, they don't sell it anymore. But there is a trio stamps punch set, which will do the same thing. So one of them on the, so it's like a triangular punch, and on each of the 3 corners there is a different detail, and one of them is to do a rounded edge like this. So like I said, I'm going to use this one because this is what I've got. So just on 2 of the edges on the long edge, I'm just going to take the corners off to round them, and then we're going to do the same on Designer's Eras paper. So there you go, so there you've got your edges. Get rid of the little bits it brings back. Okay, so we can glue this together. Again, I absolutely swear by this silicone sheet. It's brilliant, stops everything. And again, just make sure, if you're going to have contrasting patterns, just make sure you put the right one, the right side on that you want. Always put it in the middle just for good luck. And you can put it down as far to the bottom as you like, because you won't see that anyway, because the bow sections will go in front. There you go. So that one's done. So now we'll start making the bow fronts. So you can get rid of the 2 pieces of DSP for the moment and just use the piece of card. So like I said, one's 1/2 inch and one's 3/8 of an inch. So on the smaller edge, so those are both on the right hand side here, these are going to be our little tabs. That's what's going to help us to fold our bow into the back of the card. Right, so you'll need your tape measure, and we're going to measure in, so obviously we've got the 3/8 across. We're going to measure in 3/8 down from each edge, so just under the 1/2 inch mark. So 3/8 there, and again we're going to do the same on the same measurement on both. So 3/8 in from top and bottom, and that mark is just going over where the score line is. And then what you want to do is get a pair of scissors, and then just at an angle to go and join that mark. I'm just going to make your little tabs like that. So that'll become your tab. And then we can do the same on the other piece. Again, make sure it is the narrower edge that you do this on. You need the thicker edge for the gluing it to the base in a minute. There you go. So there you've got your 2. Rub off any pencil marks, don't want to see them. Okay. And then we're going to glue those on top as well. Now, just to, if you've got a bone folder, just to help it, because it's going to be bowed, you've got to be careful. If you sort of do it straight, it can be have a bit of tension on both pieces of the card and the DSP and the paper. So just use a bone folder, and again, make sure, I want the contrasting patterns, so make sure you've got it the right way around. I'm just going to do that just to make them both bowed to start with. It will just make it easier for them to bend when we assemble the card in a minute. Okay, just has to be a little bit just to help it take that. So what we can do now is glue those two pieces on. So remember, this piece is going to fold back, so we don't want to glue it on there. And make sure this needs to be adhered to this, because it's going to bow. You don't want it to come apart, so make sure you put lots of glue all the way across the paper. And then I'm just gonna, oh, hang on, got it all over there. Just taking that off so it doesn't stick to the front of the card. So if you get excess glue on, just use a rubber and it will just take that off. Okay, so that's that piece done. And then we'll do, so I'm going to put 3 lines across it just so that it definitely sticks to the piece of card underneath it. And again, I'm just going to go up to that score line on the left hand side. There you go. Okay, so now the important thing, now we need to make the slits. So you can see here we've got a slit here and we've got a slit here, so we need to make those slits on here. Now I'm going to get rid of this piece of paper for the minute. This is a glass board. If you've got a glass board or a metal board or something that you can use to use a sharp knife on, so I've just got like a little craft knife here. Another thing is, if you've got a cork backed table mat, that is also quite a good thing. Turn it over and use the cork side, so that's also quite a good thing. Right, so what we need to do is we need to measure 1.5 inches in from the right hand side, and we'll do that at sort of the top there. Well, it's about on that line, isn't it? And there, and then I'm just going to draw a line down it. And then you want to get your wider piece of bowed band, and you want to just offer it up. So where this line is, you want to line up to these 2 edges here, and make sure that you're lined up across the bottom as well. So offer it up to that line, and then make sure that you're sort of straight across there. If you want to, just pick it up and do that so you know it's straight there. And this is going to matter more than the line that you just drew. So what we're going to do then is just do a little pencil mark in there. So hopefully you can see that here. You've got these lines here. We're going to score between this line and this line, and maybe just a little bit over, just to give it a bit of extra gap. And if you put your ruler on the opposite side to these angles, you'll be able to see the line a bit easier. So I think that's about right there. And then I'm going to use the craft knife, and I'm just going to, and again I'm using a metal ruler. If you use a plastic ruler, you can very easily take the edges of the plastic ruler off. I know, because I've done it. You're going to give it, you've got 2 pieces of thickness here, because you've got the card and the card on, paper on top, so you can see here it has scored through. And then you just want to make sure that your tab will go in nice and tight there. So I'm happy with that, and it's nice and flat across the top and bottom as well. So I'm happy with that. I might just make it a little bit bigger there. There you go. Might just make it a little bit easier to go in. You don't want somebody to find, that's better, look, that goes in a lot better now. And then you can get rid of your pencil marks again. Okay, so that's that piece. And then this piece is then going to go into this piece. So you want the widest part, or the widest section of your bow piece, and then you want to measure in 2.5 inches from the left hand side, including the scored section. So 2.5 inches in. It looks like it's a long way across, but by the time it has folded, bowed, it is right. And we're going to do the same thing as we did before. So we're going to take your narrow band, and again we're going to offer it up to that line, and we're going to make sure it's flat at the bottom. Ooh, that was flat until I moved it. And then again, do your line there, and again I'm going to score between these two lines. So I'm going to hold it that way so that the angles are away from me. And that's gone through, and then again I'm going to just check that goes in there nicely, and again it's nice and flat along here. Okay, so yeah, so that's important to notice when you're doing these, that you're doing this with the tab on the right hand side, and the measurements are from the left, from the folded section there. Okay, so now we can get the pieces. Now we've finished doing all the cutting. And get this one back, put your knife away, and now I'm going to glue the section. So what we want to do is fold the two scored sections around, and what we're going to do basically is glue it to the back like that, and we're going to do the same the other side for that. You might want to do one at a time and let it dry. I'm going to use wet glues because then it allows me to manoeuvre into position. So if you hold it like that with your scored section folded, I said I'm going to use the wet glue, it just allows me to manoeuvre it a bit easier. So that needs to go on the left hand side, so I'm just going to put it at an angle like that, and then I'm just going to offer the back section to it, try and get it flat across the bottom, and then I just do that and make sure that you've got the front section in line with the back section. Just give it a really good press down. Okay, give it a really good press, and then we can do the same for the other side. So again, you've got the inside of the fold. And then again, I'm going to offer it up to the back section. And then I'm just going to make sure, come down a bit actually, and give it a really good press. And then I would leave it like that for the moment and just let the sections adhere nicely. So while we're waiting for that to dry, we can then work on the detail. So I'm going to do something similar to here. So I'm going to have a flower, and I'm going to have this sort of flower detail here, and then I'm going to cut out these flowers along the front and have a sentiment here. So first thing we want to do is the big flower. Here's one I've already created earlier. So this is, like I said, this is using the Hydrangea Haven. So I've stamped it in black, and I've coloured the flower in polished pink, and then I've done two-tone actually for the leaves. I've done the light and the dark ink blends, stamping blends with the soft succulent. So I started with the light colour, and then I used the dark colour just to add some detail where the spines or the spines of the leaves are, and then I've used the light one again to then go over it and just blend it in. So that's what you can do on that one. So actually I can show you what I did by doing that on this one that I'm going to do. So I haven't done this one yet, so I'm going to die cut this one, but I'm going to stamp this one first. So I've got some extra card here. So in a similar way, I'm going to stamp the edge in black, Memento black, then I'm going to colour it in. So I'm going to colour it in the light, and then I'll add some dark detail in a minute. So just want to, I really like using the sort of paintbrush edge. It just covers really quickly. It's got a nice point as well, so you can be quite detailed at the edges. And then if I show you what it can do then, so what it can do is just around the middle of the flowers where it might be a bit darker. Maybe the shadow can't get to it quite so, or the sun can't get to it quite so easy. And actually if you go over it a couple of times, it makes it a little bit darker again. So you can see there, even without particularly blending it very much, you can see that it just gives it a nice detail. And if you want to spread it out a bit, you can just use your lighter colour again and just go over it, and it just spreads the colour out a little bit. And it just blends it in a bit more. Okay, right, so we're going to die cut both of those. So let me just get my cut and emboss machine. Let's do it that way. Depends if you're feeling brave or not as to whether you want to do both pieces at the same time. I think I can just about get both on there. So let me just get my dies. Oh, did I forget my other die? I think I did. So yeah, so I need that one as well for, oh no, it wasn't that one, it's that one. For that. So I'm going to do one at a time. Right, so you just need to make sure that you get it so that you get the stalk on there. So that's about right. Sorry, I'm going to have to get above it, otherwise I can't see if I've moved it or not. Oh look, I've got that quite well actually. So there I've got the flower. I shall use that in a minute. And then I'm going to use this one for the extra detail. If I can line it up. That looks about right there. And I always try and put the plate sort of directly on top of it rather than sort of coming at it from an angle. It tends to help stop moving the die around once you've actually placed it on the card. That's how I find it easiest anyway. Okay, so then we've got the other piece as well. So now while we've got the die machine, we may as well cut out our flowers as well for the front. At least you don't have to worry so much about it matching up on the stamped image when you're just cutting out on coloured card. You just need to make sure it's obviously on the coloured card. And then you can see all the flowers we've got here. So let me do that, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that for a minute. So there we have our flowers. Okay, so there we have our base, and there we have our flower, and then we're going to have that there, and then we're going to have those flowers on this front section here. So what you need to be careful of is when you, this has got such a narrow stalk that you have to be very careful. You want to make sure that you want to get some of this section of the flower stuck to here to give it that rigidity. If you want to, you can cut out another one of these just in white card. You don't have to colour it in or anything, but then stick it to the back of here so it's double layers, and it just makes it a bit thicker, and it might make it a little bit more solid. But what you also need to do is, can you see that you've got the slit here? You also need to make sure that you don't then go and glue over, or the image over, something that you need to then use that little slit for. So you want to probably put it at an angle. You can just about get it so the leaf is over and the stalk is below, so you can still see that there. And then I've also got some flower on here as well, so you want to move it as low as you can to make sure it fits on. So again, I'm going to use wet glue because I want to be able to position it, and also it's quite detailed with the stalk. And what you can do if you want to is work out where you want to put the flower. Put a bit lower, as low as you can, so you get a bit more of the thing on. If you turn it over, what I sometimes do then is just put a line with pencil, and then you can see where you want to glue up to. Otherwise you end up with loads of glue on the back of it that is not stuck to anything behind, and then it's going to stick to here. So I'm going to just use some wet glue. So you can see there's a good section of the flower that's actually going to be attached to the base of the card. Again, make sure it's glued all over because this will be bowed once it's actually constructed at the end of the card. Again, make sure that you put it as low as possible. Make sure that your flower isn't too far off the edge here so that it will still fit in the envelope. Make sure it's not too low here so it will still stand up straight, but you've still got some flower over. And you can see it's not over glued on the back either, which is good. And I've avoided the slit as well, so you can see here I can still put that in there. Okay, so that works. We're also going to put that section of flowers, if I can get hold of it, on there. I'm just going to do it sort of at an angle. You can see that when you make the card up in its 3D form. Again, I'm going to glue all over because it needs to be adhered to all sections, otherwise it will pop off when you bow the card at the front. And then we want to add some flowers onto the front. So I'm just going to place these where I think I want them. What you can do, if you want, what I did on this card, I don't know if you can just see, I just put a little bit of a dot of a darker colour on the inside of the flowers just to make it look like it had a central section of the flower. So I'm using the darker of the two blends here. Just adds a bit more detail. If you wanted to, you could put a gem in the middle, like a little clear crystal gem, or a pearl, but just a little dot. And these are actually, I don't know if you can see that they are sort of embossed as well, these flowers. Let me see if I can get one closer to the, so I don't know if you can see, but they are actually embossed. So it just adds a really nice detail to it. Even though it's just a card, it hasn't been stamped or coloured in, apart from this bit here, obviously. That's when you can see you've got the right side or not, because you haven't got the detail on the other side. There you go, so it just adds a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to put these on here fairly randomly. And you can put as many on there or as few as you like. So I think that's probably enough, I don't need those two. And then what I tend to do is leave them in situ one at a time so I know where they're going to be placed. And I use my take your pick tool and use the gluey side with the like blue tack. Just lift one up at a time. Just place a dot of glue. And place them back down again. Gone completely flying. And then the final one. There you go. I quite like to have a random thing rather than it being all lined up, but you could have them lined up in a row if you want to. You can add any other sentiment you want there, so I'm going to put a sentiment up here. So I'm just going to let those dry a minute. So with my extra cards I've got here, so I've got the happy birthday from, what did I say that was from? Peaceful Moments. I'm going to use the soft succulent ink to pick up with the green detail I've got on the flowers. Because it's a predominantly pink card, it's just nice to have that balance of a second colour. So I'm just going to have that on there. Let me just get my paper trimmer. So let's just see how big I want this. So I think something like that looks okay actually. Don't think I need to fuss with that much further. So get rid of my paper trimmer, and then I'm just going to have happy birthday up here. If you want to, you could add, actually I've got 2 flowers left. What I might do actually is add a flower on there, just to add the detail. Could even put one there as well, maybe just one. Okay, so I'm going to use double-sided tape for this because this isn't going to have to bend. So use the double-sided tape for that, and then I'm just going to put that on that corner there, and then I'm going to put a blue glue dot there. Let's pick up my flower again. I quite like it sort of coming off of the paper, the white background. So there we have our card. So we should now be able to construct it. So you might want to leave it a bit longer to dry, but obviously for the video I want to do it now. And there you have your card. Stands up lovely. Really nice detail. And a really nice card to receive, I believe. If you enjoyed, oh, what we didn't do is you can stick then your piece of card on the back. Again, you want to avoid the slit so that you can still put your tab through. So that is our card. Hope you've enjoyed watching that. As always, my details for the Stampin' Up products that we've used are at amandascraftedcards.stampinup.net. And I'm on Facebook as well as Amanda's Crafted Cards. You can get in contact with me if you want to. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy making these cards, and I think I shall be making quite a few of these because I just really like the design. It just makes it a very special card. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you soon. Thank you. Bye.